Hi, hello. Welcome to the episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is May the 3rd, 2025. Hopefully, this episode finds you well, in good spirits, and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. The day's been rolling along pretty well for me. It's been a wet Saturday. It's been soggy, but overall it's been good. The vibe's been nice. I got a good amount of sleep. Kind of woke up around 5 o'clock, and I was really bummed about it. But there was almost like I had this internal knowledge that I was going to go back to sleep. I just didn't know exactly when and how that was going to affect my day. But I think around an hour or so went by, and I went back to sleep for a few more hours. So we love that. I still think the biggest factor, the biggest change lately that's been helping me sleep a little bit more consistently is the gym. I mean, I have no scientific basis on that, but I just feel like my body needs to sleep and it stops playing around with me as much, despite all the caffeine that I'm drinking. I've been staying a little bit more consistent, but every time I mention this, then I wind up waking up again in the middle of the night and I'm mad. So let's knock on wood or something like that. But overall, we got up proper and then went to the gym. Gym went well. Another heavy lifting day, but I didn't go as hard as yesterday, if that makes sense. Just a little lighter weight, but still heavier than what I'm used to. I really feel like that's working for me, and so I'm gonna keep at that. As for tomorrow, I'll see how I'm feeling. When I wake up, I always have to kind of do these like internal body checks to be like, well, what's hurting, what's going on. If we're feeling overall good, then we can go a little bit harder over this weekend phase, and then come Monday, Tuesday, really down tune. But most likely, no matter what, I'm not gonna go as heavy. It'll just maybe be a little bit heavier, or maybe it'll be a little bit of a mix, and I'll do more reps with just a little bit, just slightly heavier weight or whatever. We'll see, In that regard, I do like to kind of just keep mixing it up, switching it up, for whether it's to my detriment or, whatever, triumph. But no, gym went well. It was solid. Post the gym. We're home now and we're podcasting. So here we are. We've made it. Looks like we've made it. But yeah, let's go ahead and do our startup and get into some news. Okay. Our first story comes from the Associated Press. Drones strike ship carrying aid to Gaza, organizers say, in latest confrontation over assistance. Drones attacked a vessel carrying aid to Gaza on Friday in international waters off Malta, the group organizing the shipment said. In the latest confrontation over efforts to send assistance to the Palestinian territory devastated by nearly 19 months of war. A nearby tugboat responded to a distress call from the Conscience, which authorities said experienced a fire that was brought under control. The vessel was carrying 12 crew members and 4 civilians, the Maltese government said, adding that those aboard refused to leave the ship. The group was safe and no serious injuries were reported, it said. The Freedom Flotilla coalition accused Israel of attacking its ship. The group did not provide evidence for that claim or to show that the fire was caused by drones, but in a video it shared an explosion. It shared an explosion could be heard. Another video showed a fire blazing. The Israeli army did not respond to a request for comment. Israel has cut Gaza off from all imports, including food and medicine, since the beginning of March, leading to what is believed to be the worst humanitarian crisis in the war with Hamas, the Palestinian militant group said. In the war with Hamas, the Palestinian militant group. Sorry, I just read a little blobbly there. Masid Majikvan, I'm getting that name wrong, apologies, an activist from Turkey who was aboard the Conscious, was getting ready for bed when 2 explosions rocked the ship about 2 minutes apart, he said. At first, it seemed that there had been a collision. Then the crew saw fire and realized it was an attack, Bags Sivikan told the Associated Press. As the crew radioed Malta for help, Bags Sivian said someone impersonated them on the same channel saying help was no longer needed. Those on board scrambled to fight the fire on their own. leaving with some minor injuries, he said. Help later arrived, and after hours, the fire was extinguished. So yeah, I mean, this essentially nixed the whole aid trip. I think they were supposed to go and connect with like other people who were helping out. And they just weren't able to do that because of the situation at hand. Actually, yeah, Greta Thunberg, an activist, was involved. She actually has some comments on this because she was supposed to get on the boat. But I mean, yes, fingers are being pointed at Israel. They are not responding, which to me is kind of a classic tactic by them. Like if they weren't involved, they normally would just come out and say, "Yeah, we have nothing to do with this. This is, we're not involved. We didn't do it." But saying nothing is kind of saying something in this scenario, at least in my opinion. And also, they're the only ones that benefit because this is what they want to have happen. They do not want to have aid go in. And they want to say, well, hey, there's X and Y reasons why, we're not helping and we're not, pushing, even though we're the occupying force here, we're not going to. And then when anyone else tries to, they either block it or something like this happens. So I had heard this story and I was a bit bogged down. I just hadn't gotten to it. And sadly, I said this before, I'll say it again. I definitely do miss a lot of stories. I know that there are airstrikes and things like that happening every day. There's plenty of lives lost. I think there was a strike that took 24 recently. And I definitely do miss a lot. And, that's on me. But, I'm always trying to cover, as many stories as I can all around the world, and a lot is happening. So to a certain extent, yes, there's a picking and choosing. And this is me kind of making sure I try to get this story in. There's also another story that I wanted to get to that was Israel related from The Guardian. Israel says airstrikes in Syria are messaged to protect Druze minority. Israeli warplanes have carried out a series of airstrikes outside Damascus and across Syria after warnings from Israeli officials that the country would intervene to protect the Syria's minority Druze sect. The airstrikes targeted a Syrian military site in the Damascus suburb of Harasta, as well as hitting unknown targets in Dera province in South Syria and Hama province in northwest Syria. At least one civilian was killed and 4 people were injured as a result of Israeli bombings late Friday night, according to the Syrian state. The latest rounds of strikes come after Israel killed 4 civilians earlier on Friday in a bombing in southern Syria and struck the vicinity of Syria's palace. And this is all coming in the face of hey, the newly established Syrian government is trying to cool tensions with Israel, even though they've been attacking them the entire time. And now they've inserted this moral cause and reason. It's well, we're defending this sect. We're defending these little guys. You guys are oppressing them and that's not okay. That's not right. And it's you guys are literally doing atrocities in your own backyard to a group of people. What are we talking about here? It feels like this is just something that you're using as a reason for ongoing strikes against Syria. So we just wanted to pop this in. It's well, see, hey, we have an actual noble cause here. That's why we're doing this all the time. That's why we're killing innocent civilians. And mind you, they're not just doing this here. It's not just Syria. It's not just Gaza. They're still doing strikes on Lebanon as well. Because once again, that's another thing that I'm just not as able to get to cover. Even though I'm doing this shit every day. It's hard. It's not easy. But it's not about me. I know. But they really want to state loud and clear that for this specific thing, they're doing it for the little guy. They're doing it for the Druze, religious sect. And I'm I don't know. And I'm sure that there's someone, who could come and say, hey, well, there are connections. There are reasons for them doing this and blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. But it's or you could also just say that it also validates in their mind and maybe what they're trying to sell to, the international community. It's hey, Syria's bad. We are good. We're fighting for the little guy. That's all you need to worry about. Don't worry about who we're hit, how we're hitting them. Just know that we're doing the right thing. And don't worry about, once again, any of our other war crimes or atrocities, because those are also noble, because we're defending hearth and home. You know what I mean? It's the right to defend yourself. October 7th, don't you remember? Don't forget. We're allowed to be as evil as we want to be. Okay, all right. All in the name of what? Zionism? Let me stop. Anyway, clashes broke out in the Druze in the Druze majority areas outside Damascus on Tuesday after an audio clip circulated on social media of a man making derogatory comments about the Prophet Muhammad. The clip, which was falsely attributed to a Druze cleric, angered many Sunni Muslims, but may have been fabricated. On Thursday, one of the three Syrian Druze spiritual leaders, Sikh Hikmat al-Hijri, accused Syria's government of what he called an unjustified genocidal attack on the minority community. Excuse me. Now, I believe, the Syrian, top officials have been saying like, hey, we are doing our best to like corral security forces. We are doing our best to, corral and like stop any kind of, hate attacks or anything like that. Like we don't want that to happen. We're not advocating for that. And they're saying like, hey, our security isn't involved here. But that being said, there is still conflict happening. So, I really don't know in terms of like, oh, who are we pointing fingers at? Who's doing what? Like, I know this is a very chaotic situation. I've tried to, in some episodes to explain it to the best of my knowledge and ability. And I know I'm very lacking in that regard. But, I know that there's a lot going on here. I'm definitely not trying to sit here and say that the Druze people do not need any kind of protection or anything like that. I know things are very chaotic, but just once again, the narrative that I feel that Israel is trying to push here just doesn't line up to me personally. So I wanted to talk about the story, at least highlight it a bit. I know there's more details. We've definitely kind of swagged and surfed through them, but let's go ahead and move on. Done with my little Israel segment. Let's go ahead and move on to Peru from the BBC. 2 dead after Peruvian naval ship hits oil platform in Amazon River. A Peruvian Navy vessel has collided with an oil platform in the Amazon River, killing at least 2 people and leaving 1 missing. The collision happened in the early hours of Friday morning at the junction of Napo and Amazon rivers, causing severe damage, Peru's defense ministry said. 30 crew members were rescued from the vessel, with specialized diving teams and helicopters deployed as part of the search operation, the statement added. Anglo-French company Perenco, which owns the platform, said the vessel had collided with the bow chain of the empty storage vessel. The Peruvian Defense Ministry said it was investigating the cause of the collision. Peru's Navy deeply regrets the irreparable loss of our crew members, the Defense Ministry said, adding that it would provide assistance to their loved ones. The ministry said the vessel, called Ucayali, hit the platform while it was navigating near the mouth of the Napo River in northern Peru. In a statement, a spokesperson for Perenco told BBC at approximately 1:30 a.m., the Peruvian Navy's BAP, or BAP, Ucayali, collided with the bow chain of the AF Manati, an empty Perenco storage vessel at permanent anchor. The spokesperson said that Perenco had assisted the Peruvian Navy search and rescue operation, adding that the company extends its condolences to the families of the sailors of the incident. This is obviously unfortunate in the initial loss of life in that regard. And you can say, property damage, blah, 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 blah. But there is an, ecological, right, environmental, I think that's the word I'm looking for, damage at play here with any kind of potential leaks and things of that nature. And those kind of things, it can be hard to measure out in the initial. Only time's going to tell how bad that might be and how it might, get worse potentially. So, I just wanted to, highlight that, talk about that a little bit. But yes, definitely condolences to the families and stuff like that involved, people like that involved. I'm sorry, whatever. Let's go ahead and close out with a story from the BBC. This is technically a win, I guess you could say a lib win, if you will. It's from Australia. We got to go to the Outback. But let's go ahead and do our last break, and we'll go ahead and close it out. All right. Australia Prime Minister Albanese makes stunning comeback with landslide win. Labour's Anthony Albanese, I don't know, whatever, Albanese Facese, has defied the so-called incumbency curse to be re-elected Australia's Prime Minister in a landslide. Official vote counting won't finish for days, but Albanese's center-left government will dramatically increase its majority after the conservative Liberal National Coalition suffered a thumping defeat nationwide. Today, the Australian people have voted for Australian values, for fairness, aspiration, and opportunity for all, for the strength to show courage in adversity and kindness to those in need, Albanese said. Coalition leader Peter Dutton, who lost his own seat of 24 years, said he accepted full responsibility for his party's loss and apologized to his MPs. This really does feel very familiar to the Mark Carney win in Canada for the Liberal Party. It feels almost like a bar for bar situation where it's like, look, the Labour Party in Australia was looking pretty bad. The win was not in their sails. I believe at one point I'm thinking New Zealand thing, but they just weren't looking too great. They had a lot of promises out. They really weren't delivering. But with Trump being elected, him exerting all of this influence, and then you see this Dutton guy who's essentially just the Australian version of that, because that's what they think you want, right? And guess what? Sadly, we've talked about this before, at a bird's eye, internationally, yes, it is what people want to eat up. I don't know why. It's so gross, but they like that populist propaganda bullshit. They eat it up like it's fucking thick-ass oatmeal. And they just go, no, give me more, give me more, give me more. But I think, once again, when you see it on such a platform that Donald Trump has and gets to exert on the world stage, and you go, damn, this is affecting me in a real negative way. Do I really want to have my own Australian or insert, country here, that version of Trump? And you go, no, I really don't think so. Maybe not. And you have this backlash. So now conservatives have to kind of look and they say, well, is this just kind of we're part of the tide and the wave and we kind of just have to rock with this? Or do we switch up the strategy? I really think that people like to have this conversation because you hear this even in the liberal camps of we're really doing a lot of soul searching right now in the party. And I mean, Democrats in America. We're doing a lot of soul searching in the party, trying to figure things out. And they just come up with just more neoliberal bullshit. And it's just the same fucking Republican light thing. It's not like they're actually in the lab again. They're not. They aren't coming up with anything new, sadly. It's very unfortunate. And so to kind of crane back to Australia, do I think Albanese is the best guy? Probably not. Do I think the Labour Party is what I want it to be? No, it's not. You can say the same thing for fucking UK. I'm not impressed by Keir Starmer. Was I happy that he won? Am I happy that they beat the Tories? Yeah, fuck yeah, I am. I want that to happen every fucking time. But that being said, these are just lesser evils. I'm not stupid. I don't want to sell you guys a bunch of bullshit. No, but it's something that I would rather see across the world stage than the alternative currently. Because we just aren't going to get our socialist fucking utopia yet. I don't know what to tell you. I'm not fucking, waving a wand for that right now. I'm just living in the here and now and what we can hopefully get. And then, go from there, right? I just want to see positive growth. Or, if we got to settle for a fucking stagnant fucking plane, then okay. Send me to that plateau, I guess. I'd rather live there than, worrying about things getting worse every day from some fucking orange guy. You know what I mean? So it just is what it is. Ha to this Dutton guy. What a fucking loser. A bit of, I'm going to call it side news. You could say it's major. But Germany's AfD party was dealt a blow with an extremist label by government. It's going to hamper things for them. It's going to make them harder to operate. You could say it's an increasing of this quote unquote firewall against them. It's so weird to just hear our American politicians and stuff JD Vance, Mark Rubio, talk shit about this. It's so do you want the fascists to come in? And it's no, they're not fascists. They're just like us. And it's yeah, you said it right there, buddy. They're just like y'all. And you would like to see free reign of people like that. So I'm happy to see this kind of action happen in that regard, just kind of closing it out here. But I don't know how much of it we're going to see. And yes, you can also add the conversation of there's blowback to even those actions where you try to corral them, just like in France, where you have Marine Le Pen getting her shit done up because she did a crime and now she has to deal with it. And it's oh, God forbid we hasten the process. Oh, no, she should be allowed to run. You should have slow walked that so she could just do a Trump thing there. If it's inevitable, it's inevitable. I at least want to see people fight for it. I at least want to see these parties that we vote for do the job that they say they're going to fucking do at least at some point, right? Before it's too late. And then they go back to, we got to do our soul searching, woo. I just fucking hate that. So once again, I'd rather see action over inaction. and I'll take what I can get, TDLR, whatever. That is where I want to leave it though for today. I don't want to belabor too many points, you know what I mean, as I want to do. If you'd like to help out support the effort, I do have a Patreon, patreon.com/Isaiah News. Become a newsie today. Free ways to hit me up, IsaiahNews1@gmail.com. Feel free to follow me or the podcast on any of the socials. Subscribe to the YouTube. Follow on TikTok. Follow on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, whatever you're listening on. Leave a like. Leave a comment. Sharing is caring. Boost the algorithm. All that goodness. All that good stuff. But I really just appreciate you listening. It's a super cool thing that you're involved in this project just by being on the other end of it, you know? So thank you so much for that. And hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love ya. Bye-bye. Mwah.